Yeah, just give me your thoughts on him. Like, that's it. I just want to, like, get an inside look to, like, your brain as you read this. And, like, especially focusing on why.
Okay. So in essence, giving anonymous critiques on first pages or chapters of things by people.
Exactly.
And how many of these?
Oh no,
do you have?
I have way more than I'm gonna go through. Don't yeah. For the next 4 hours, Joshua, where I'm no.
Okay.
So that's this one. I mean, I just randomly selecting which ones I'm giving you.
So okay.
So this is
You're
number
gonna
one.
Have a lot of quiet time while I just read.
Yeah. No,
these?
I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
And do you like need a pen to like annotate or?
So, okay, the first one I'm looking at is something with the cataclysm had arrived, Jack thought. Now, the first thing you want to be aware of, at least to me, sentence structure.
Okay.
The first paragraph, especially the sentence structure, I think is a little bit choppy and doesn't quite bring me into the novel as much as you would want.
What okay, so choppy. How would you
It's hard to say, and that's one of these subjective things. I generally don't like a lot of short, choppy sentences. I like a little variety where you have short sentences when you need them, longer when you need them, but that you have this opening paragraph. I find that it gets a little bit too choppy. The other thing which I see just looking at this page is things don't go together. The narrative jumps around a lot. So it's the cataclysm arrived, he drew another arrow, he let it fly. He had things to do, and he wasn't going to let these barbarians ruin his plans. Like, if you're in the middle of a battle, you don't usually take time to think about, oh, and I forgot to go to the ATM or something like that. So
it's kind of like an info dump.
You know, so it seems a little awkward there. Later, he talks about the herb, but it doesn't seem to relate to anything. It's like, if you're reading a Brandon Sanderson novel and people talk about downing metals or something, which this would remind somebody of, it's very clear what they're doing. Here, it's like the details about the herb aren't really being presented in a way that you're moving toward everything, like in a real solid, unified way. You don't want to detour here to talk about the name of the herb, because you're in the middle of a battle. So if he has some herb, what you might have done is name the herb beforehand, or decide you'll deal with the name afterwards. But it's like that opening paragraph. You're gonna just get the herb out because you need it to win the battle, and you're not going to think about, what should I call this herb as you begin to use it.
Right.
You know, in essence, this is like you're trying to escape the bad guy. You're seeing a rifle that you can pick up and use to shoot, and rather than just picking up and choosing to shoot, you decide, well, this rifle I'm about to pick up, is this an Uzi? It is a Kalashnikov? Is it an M16? You wouldn't do that. You would just pick up the rifle that was left on the ground, or somebody else died and the rifle's there, you would pick it up and start using it, so long as you could figure out where the trigger was, and you wouldn't worry about the brand of rifle you were picking up in that moment.
Right, so kind of essentially really, I mean, could you maybe categorize that like staying strongly in viewpoint / character, and then kind of like logical, like sentences need to have a natural, like one sentence needs to lead to another.
Yes. There was something I read somewhere, and I wish I could, buried somewhere on my computer, I saved this because it was a very good thing. But the author was basically saying that ideally each chapter or paragraph in a book could not exist without what you found out in the prior.
Paragraph or the rest?
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's a chapter by chapter or paragraph by paragraph, because as I said, I can't remember the exact quote, but that each should directly follow from the one before in a way that, you couldn't have the thing that happened in one place happening else the thing that had happened before had happened.
On the sentence level, how would
I'm not saying, don't ask me if it's sentence or paragraph. All I'm saying is you need to keep that progression in mind.
No, right. Well, I imagine it's a true principle for both. I'm just trying to think of like how it would look differently, on a sentence level versus like the paragraph level. But
well, I'm just like, you can look at this paragraph and you can safely say that the paragraph jacked down some of the herb that he had ground up earlier could easily go 3 sentences ahead or a paragraph ahead. It's just, it's not, it's not, the details aren't essential at the time they're being presented.
Right. That's okay.
And you can get away with that occasionally. What begins to be a problem is here it's the pattern that the author needs to break from and improve on. It isn't the, I'm getting away with a slip here or whatever.
Right.
So
okay. Any other things?
I mean, those would be the main things. Just looking at this.
What about stuff that like you liked or that you see him do that not all writers do?
I mean, the writing. That's a hard question. When I'm criticizing something, my focus a lot of times is in what you need to do to make it better.
Right.
And I'm not always good at the hand-holding part of it because my focus is making it better.
Right.
So this is definitely something that, if I had things on a percentile scale, this is in fact better than a considerable amount of stuff that comes into the office or that I've seen in my time. But the main focus really has to be not on saying I'm at the 50th percentile or even at the 70th or 80th percentile when the things that are published are at the 95th percentile for the lucky people. And for most, the 98th or 99th, you have to focus on getting yourself up quite a bit. Right. Not celebrating that you're better, but still not there.
Right.
So I don't say that to be negative.
No,
I
it
just
totally
say
makes
that
sense.
to say I'm not gonna focus here on, handing out,
Right.
little.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Little, well, you don't get a gold star, but I'll give you a blue one or a pink one or something. I just, that is not gonna.
Okay, that was super helpful.
So,
do you have more things you want to critique on that, or should we move
no,
on to another one?
I think that's the main thing that this author needs to think about, is being sure that the details they're presenting are relevant and that they're telling a story that really does progress in a way where you're not going here to there to there. You're actually saying this guy is in the middle of a battle and you're telling us about his battle, hopefully giving us some background about why he's fighting the battle, giving us some things to learn about himself, his character, what he's in. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be presented, and it's hard to do that when the writing seems a little more kind of stream of consciousness, that he's in a battle, but now I'm going to think about what the name of the herb is, or what other plans I had that night. And I'm harping on these same things because it's only one page.
Right.
But those are the things in that page onward. Okay?
Right. Okay, no.
Listen, I don't want to...
Perfect. That was exactly what I'm looking for, Joshua.
So...
Okay. Oh, and actually, I guess before we move on, if we're doing a scale from 1 to 10, I'm just trying to get a rough idea.
I can't do that.
Okay. No, that's
Bottom
perfectly
line
fine.
is, if I'm doing a scale on 1 to 10, I'll get back to what I said before. It doesn't matter if I give you a 1, a 3, or an 8. You need to be over a 9. Well over a 9. And anything else, it doesn't matter. So to rate, one person a 3, one person a 7, both of those grades are failing.
Right.
Okay, so therefore, no numbers, no letters.
Right. Okay. This is what I really love. Okay. This one's a little longer.
So, okay, the Babbitt thing has one definite strong point going for it, which is there's a real voice to it. And that is always a good thing for a writer when you can present a distinctive voice. Stylistically, this isn't necessarily the kind of thing that I would go for most, but I really do like the fact that there is a voice on this. I would suspect that
it's supposed to be horror. It's the horror genre.
So, I mean, you can definitely get a shade of Tony from The Shining when you're looking at Babbitt. That little voice inside of your head, etc. So I don't know where it's going, but I'm at least, as I said, intrigued by the presence of a real voice coming through with the writer. And the other thing that I would just maybe say here is to be sure that you're making every word count. And
Does she have lots of sentences that essentially say the same thing?
it's not entirely saying the same thing. It's just that it's almost in some ways like a parable when he's talking about things. And I just, somewhere along the way, like let's say when he's talking about finding the scissors, there might be a little TMI there, which keeps from getting to the actual point of this scene
What's TMI?
of the book. Too much information. That would be something to watch out for. The other thing is, again, like the progression of information to watch out for is that on the second page there was the "by now I was used to Babbitt's many forms." I'm not entirely sure why we get that information here instead of having it right at the beginning. You know, Babbitt was with me from the beginning. I don't remember it, but he says he watched me in my cradle, and even then we knew. He couldn't explain what it was that drew him to me, but he says that's not uncommon. It seems to me that the stuff about "by now I was used to Babbitt's many forms" wants to go somewhere in there.
Right.
Instead of kind of coming as an interruption within the actual parable of the
Right.
of the sacrifice.
No, that makes
he's
sense.
telling. So those are a few points there. As I said, though, definitely I always like finding a writer with a really distinguishing voice.
This author in particular, like how close did you say like she's like this story? Imagine she did same quality.
I don't know who.
Would this be nearly publishable or?
Well, again, I'm only looking at 2 pages.
Right.
And it wouldn't be entirely my cup of tea, this sort of book, even if it was really working. What I will say is I like the fact that the writer is able to present a real voice. And that's something, you know, that is good.
Okay.